What's up, everyone? Welcome back. I'm very excited to have one of our longest clients that we have, Sean, here from Pennsylvania. He's been with us almost 5 years. Can you believe it? That's almost since the inception of our company. Thanks, Sean, for coming on the call today.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
So, Sean, can you just tell us a little bit about your background? What you do, kind of what market you're in, and a little bit about your real estate investment business.
Sure, yeah. So originally, I've always been a school teacher, middle school special ed. This is my 17th year doing it. So I'm still teaching. But about 2015, I got interested in the real estate space, did a deal here and there, bought my first rental in 2018, um, flipped my own personal property in 2016. Um, and did another wholesale deal in 2018. So just kind of sporadic stuff. Sent out a mailing campaign here and there, and then 2019 really started to get serious about my business. Um, Hired a company to do direct mail marketing for me, um, and I don't know, maybe 6 to 12 months after that, reached out to you guys about starting a PPC campaign. Um, so for me, I didn't know anything about that stuff. I just thought I'm going to call Tim. He's going to do some Google ads, and I'd be off and running. And you guys were super helpful in creating the website because I was starting from scratch. So kind of guiding me along the way as to what I should be putting on the website, how to increase the value of the website, how to um, I guess make my brand more trusting with reviews and video reviews, things like that. Um, so started that probably late 2019, early 2020, and it's been super helpful for the business. Um, like I said, I'm still teaching, but I have a pretty substantial real estate business at this time. We have a small rental portfolio. We are under contract to acquire our 10th rental property. We do mostly wholesaling. Um, Past couple of years, we've done some flips ourselves. Um, many of which coming from our PPC campaigns. So, um, yeah, I keep telling myself this is my last year teaching. Um, I do enjoy it, so that's the only reason I haven't left yet. Um, but that's kind of my story in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's awesome for sure. And you've been one of our, obviously, like I said, longest clients, and a bit of a unique situation because you've been working full time while you're doing this. And I think a lot of people think that's not possible, especially when you're doing pay-per-click marketing, because we always say you need to get to the leads within 5 minutes or less. Obviously, you can't do that. You're not going to interrupt your class to go take a phone call, right? Unless you do
Sure.
that, unless you leave your class. I'm assuming you don't do that.
Not most of the time now.
So how do you manage that? How do you manage working the leads? What does your process look like, having to deal with that while you're working full time?
Yeah. So for me, like I said, it's my 17th year teaching. So I have it, you know, down to a science pretty much in terms of classroom management, prepping, things like that. So any spare time I do have throughout the day, I'll make some phone calls or, respond to sellers via email. So I am working it throughout the day in that sense. And then I'll also obviously work on it outside of school hours. But in regards to your question, so a lot of times if I get a call and I can't answer it, I'll just try and get back to it as soon as possible, right? So if I get a call at 10:30 and my class ends at 10:45 and I have 4 minutes between class, I'll jump on the phone real quick. At least try if I can get them on the phone, just a quick introduction, let them know what time I can call them back, or arrange a time for both of us to you know talk over the phone at a later date. Um, Early on, I tried using like a third party service. I forget the name. There's tons of them out there.
Like a
Um,
call answering service that would you'd
yeah,
have a VA
exactly.
answer it. Yeah.
And I found it kind of turned a lot of sellers off. I almost lost the deal because of it. When I called back later on that day, she said, she spoke to somebody and just sounded very generic and turned her off. And
Hmm.
was able to turn that one around. But after some time of situations like that, I just figured I'd rather take my chances. Because I know the stats of calling back within the first 5 to 20 minutes of receiving the lead and how important that is. And because of my role as a special ed teacher, I do have a little more flexibility if I need to step out of the room here and there. So kind of just roll the dice with it. Sure, there's probably one or two leads a year that I lose because I didn't call back. Like I can think of one this year. He said, he's like, I just went with the first person that responded. Um,
Right. Yeah.
and I mean, in that instance, it didn't even matter because I followed up with the guy and came to find out it didn't work out anyways. Um, but it's just for better or worse, my business. I've always prided myself on being the guy. I know I've won quite a few deals that way. Not the last minute. Like when I call, who am I going to get?
Right.
And it's always me. And to grow
Right.
your business, it's hard to stay that way. But for me, I'm kind of happy doing the business that I do as it is right now. Um, so yeah, to answer your question, I answer as best as possible, or I get back as soon as possible. And my follow up is consistent. I don't let it go until I hear back from them or they sell the house.
Do you often like when lead comes in? So right now it just goes to voicemail, or you just text them back. Do you do a lot of that more than, or do you always try to get on the phone with them right away?
I always try and get on the phone. Number one, if I can get a sense that they prefer text and they're responsive, I have no problem doing that. Same thing via email. If I could tell like they're an email type of person, I'll just roll with it. But my preferred method's always over the phone. I've gotten pretty good. I'm not a sales guy by any means, but I've gotten pretty good at developing rapport with sellers. Um, and again, I've won a lot of deals that way. Just haven't been the highest offer, but I've been consistent. I've done what I said I was going to do. Showed up on time. The little things.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and your website, and shout out to you. You put a lot of effort into your website and the branding. Like there are reviews on your website with the sellers, and they know that that's the person that when they call and you pick up, it goes a long way. I
Yeah,
think for helping people trust the brand. I'm curious. Do you tell people that you are like a local school teacher as well, or no?
yeah. Good question. So when I first started out, I was like embarrassed by it. I just thought that people wouldn't take me seriously if they knew that's what I did. Uh, and I don't know when it started. Probably, you know, right around the time we started working. And I started my business seriously. I get that in there as soon as I can in the conversation. I try and work it in there. It just helps me come off as more relatable. So many people are like, "Oh yeah, my sister's a teacher, my son's a teacher, my granddaughter's going to get her teaching degree." So right there, it just strikes up a conversation. It makes me feel more relatable. It's not like seller versus buyer.
Right.
It's just a conversation, and
You're just a local nice
gets me in the
teacher.
door. Yeah, one
Yeah.
hundred percent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I like to think that that's true, and I do always look out for the seller's best interest. If they have a great property and it doesn't make sense to sell it for a discount, they can list it. I'll recommend that. That's actually this rental property we're buying now. I told the guy, I was like, you can probably get like 30, 40 grand more putting it on the market. And they just didn't want to deal with the hassle and a few
Yeah.
other things. They were buying another place. So it just made sense for them to go this route.
I do think there is a certain group of seller that wants like the professional, trusted, corporate type vibe.
Mhm.
But I think, I don't have stats behind this, but I think the majority of motivated sellers want the relatable local mom and pop investor that they can trust, like a real human. It's like a serious situation. And I think that's been, in my opinion, a very important part of your campaign and success of why you've been able to be successful, even not getting to the leads right away for so long because of that. Because you have a strong brand, even if it's just you have a strong brand. So
Right.
um, I want to dive a little bit into the campaign stats. So Let me pull it up here in the back end. So just this year. So what? We're as of filming this, we're in August, and of course my thing isn't loading. But can you tell us a little bit about spend? I can pull up spend, but revenue for the year, kind of deals. Let's do last year and this year. So you've been
Sure.
with us for 5 years.
Yep.
But just save everyone time. Let's just go through the. Obviously, he's been successful because he's here 5 years later. So let's just do
Sure.
last year, that kind of 4 years into the campaign, and then this year. Can you talk a little bit about the breakdown? So revenue, deals, are they wholesales, are they flips? Just give us the best you can here.
Yeah, for sure. So when we first started out, I think I was just at like the minimum, which was like 1,500 a month.
Yep.
And then probably a couple of years in, we increased that to now we're probably around 4,000 a month.
Yeah,
Um,
rough that. Yep, about that.
yeah, it's kind of gone up and down a little bit over the past couple of years, just trying to figure out what makes the most sense for my business and the campaign. Um, but that's in terms of spend. That's what we're looking at. Um, Early on in the business, it was predominantly wholesale. Um, we picked up one or two rentals here and there through the PPC campaign. Last year, we did three flips of our own, two of which came from the PPC campaign. So in 2024, we did six wholesale deals for roughly 55,000, and then we did two flips, which totaled 108,000. So combined wholesale flips, we were right around $162,000 in revenue.
Revenue for the year. Yep. And then I'll
Yep.
add to that. So 160K for 2024. Looking at your stats now, you spent about $40,000 from the ads. So it's about
Yeah.
a 4x on the ad spend from the campaign. So not bad
No,
for being a full time teacher there on the side.
for sure.
Awesome.
And I just remembered we bought a duplex in November last year. Um, so that was pretty much a burr. We left some money in it. Um, Burr being we bought it with a cash private lender, fixed it up, got it rented out, had it appraised, refinanced it into a traditional 30-year mortgage. But it cash flows between 800 and $900 a month for us. So it was actually, what did I say
Then
before?
that's a bonus. That's a bonus
Yeah,
on top of that. Gotcha.
for sure.
Awesome.
So it's kind of shaping up a little similar this year, minus we haven't done any flips ourselves as of yet. Um, but we've done six wholesale deals, totaling just over 75,000. And then, like I said, we're under contract to buy a rental that came through the PPC campaign as well. That'll be a Burr deal. Probably won't have more than 10 grand in it, and it'll cash flow between $400 and $500 a month for us, assuming it all plays out accordingly. Um, so that's a nice return for us.
So let's see what the stats are. Let's do as of August here, 2025. Oh, whoops. No, let me see here. Be patient, listeners. Let me pull up the stats. Okay. Gotcha. I spent about 30 grand this year so far.
Yep.
So 75, and plus a rental as well, which obviously if you resold, you could do that. So last year was a little better
Yeah.
so far than this year. Obviously we'll see how the next few months go with that. How do you make the decision between flipping and wholesaling? And I think we analyze what our most successful clients do, and unless someone is in like doing a very large area with has like 10 million people, or they're doing like multiple states or something, and they do like high volume wholesaling, most of our most successful clients are flipping either
Yeah.
partially or fully, because it takes pressure off of the PPC leads because obviously they're not cheap, and we'll talk
Sure.
about some of that here in your campaign for a second. But flipping takes some of the pressure off because you're obviously making more per deal as long as you can
Mm-hmm.
manage the cash flow of waiting for so long, right? So
Yep.
talk about your decision of how do you choose whether to flip or wholesale a deal.
Yeah. So, I mean, generally, I kind of cherry pick the deals. I look at two things really: the location of the deal, and then the condition of the property. Um, so for me, if I'm going to do it, manage it myself. When I say manage it myself, I use a general contractor, but in my experience, I always want to be boots on the ground. I'm not there swinging the hammer. I'm not calling subcontractors, but I want to check in once or twice a week to make sure what I'm being told is actually happening. So generally, it needs to be somewhere either on the way home from school to home. We're within 20 to 25 minutes, a reasonable, easy drive for me to get to on a consistent basis because, I'm going to be back and forth there for at least a couple months
Right.
while everything's under construction. Um, and it has to be in an area that I feel safe going to. So that's number one. And then number two is the scope of the work. I'm not buying like fire damage. I'm not flipping fire damage houses myself. I'm not, anything that's crumbling that has serious, foundation issues. Um, a couple of jobs we did last year were six-figure jobs, but it was either a big house, just needed everything, and it was just stuff that I felt comfortable with. Um, but essentially, I'm factoring in the fact that I am still teaching, so
Sure.
I have to manage and be cognizant of my time when I'm picking these. Fortunately, I have pretty good relationships with the buyers that I use. I don't typically blast it out to a list of thousands of people. Um, I have a small uh, list of reliable guys that I use consistently. So
Yeah.
when I am wholesaling them, I have a relationship with the buyer. So I feel comfortable enough going to the seller like I would close on it myself because I know they have such a track record with me that I feel comfortable, putting my word against theirs, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes complete sense. And have you thought about? I mean, obviously you thought about it, but like in one version of your career and your business here, you could obviously quit your teaching job and really try to optimize, super efficient what you're doing. You could bring in a sales guy. You could continue to expand additional markets. You could probably increase your average assignment fee as well because you're going to around like 9 or 10.
Yep.
Our average across the nation, our average assignment fee across our customers is about 25. So I think there's probably some opportunity there to improve it. But that's like a whole. It's like a whole. Like they have like this giant buyers list, and it's like a whole separate
Yeah.
thing. And
Yeah.
there's a bit more of a operational burden, I think, to do that.
Hmm.
And then you could, in theory, flip all these houses and probably make 4x what you're doing as
Yeah.
well. And then then you would go on a podcast and say, "Oh, my return is super amazing, 10x, 10x." But yeah, because you're flipping everything, but there's
Sure.
obviously operational burden. So, are you going down that path, or is that really not your goal? Because I see a lot of investors going in that direction. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't. I'm just very
Yeah.
curious. Like, obviously, you've thought about it. So, what is your take on that?
Yeah. No, trust me. I'm smart enough to realize that there's plenty of inefficiencies in my business. But I'm very, like this one guy that I kind of see as a mentor describes me as the tortoise and the hare. I'm kind of slow, methodical, and triple check everything. So there's that. But I don't need $1 million business. Would it be nice? Absolutely. But I also know that there are a number of hurdles and challenges that come along with growing your business and hiring salespeople and
Yep.
acquisitions managers and all that. Um, for me, I'm happy, if I can maintain and grow slowly my business over the next however many years. So it's more of a lifestyle thing for me.
Yeah.
I have three young kids, so I coach frequently. I like to be there to put them to bed every night. I like to have dinner with them every night. Um, and I'm not looking to be the next Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
I just want a business that creates a comfortable life for my family. We can go on vacation when we want. Um, and I just see the rental side of things as kind of my retirement plan, right? Like
Right.
30 years from now, if I did nothing else but manage them well, they would be paid off and I'd have a substantial amount of cash flow every month. Um, You
use
know, so
that.
that's kind of
Yeah.
the idea. Yeah. And like I said, the only reason I haven't left teaching yet is just I just enjoy it. Yeah. So it creates a lot more stress on my day to day, simply because I'm in a building for 7.5 hours. But it also makes me, it forces me to be super like purposeful with my
Yeah.
time. There's really no time lost in my day. You know, I'm not doom scrolling on social media or kicking back and watching 2 hours of TV at night. You know, which whatever works for some people, but I'm very, you know, my whole day is pretty much mapped out.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's more of a lifestyle thing for me, and it's worked out really well so far. We bought the house of our dreams a few years ago. Um, it came with a tennis court, which was super dilapidated. I know you're a tennis player.
Oh, I'm so
Yeah.
jealous. That's
So we
amazing.
we renovated that. Um, that got wrapped up earlier this year. I'll send you some pictures. It's super cool.
Yeah,
So
please do.
you know,
I'm gonna come by. You don't send me a picture. You gotta invite me over.
it's fine with me.
I have a
I
drink
don't
or
know.
something.
I
I'm
don't
not
play
too
as well
far
as I
from
used
you.
to. Okay.
I'm living. I moved to Pennsylvania, so I'm not. I'm actually in
Oh,
Lehigh Valley, so
okay.
I'm like a couple hours away. So I'm
Sweet.
gonna show up at your door one day, dude. And be like, hey, remember
That's
that?
that's fine. I could always use a hitting
See your
partner. The
kids.
kids are still getting the hang of it.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
And
So no, I can't complain.
the great thing too about PPC is, I mean, looking at your leads from this year, I mean, you've gotten 90 leads in for the year.
Hmm.
That's what, let's be a little over 2 leads a week. And then if we look at, I think last year you're at like 100 for the year. You're really not like a couple of leads a week. Like it's not a crazy high burden. I think
No.
because the leads are, you did what, 6 or 7 deals last year of 100 leads. That's
Yeah.
15 leads a deal roughly,
Hmm.
which is average. It's like right in line with what we kind of think. I think it's actually a little bit above average kind of for your area. I think because your branding's so good.
Yeah.
Um, but like the operational burden of it is not high, and it is a great channel for exactly Sean's life situation and the way he's designing his life versus like Facebook ads or cold calling. Maybe the return is going to be the same. But the deals are going to, or probably not even. I mean, if you're doing it
Yeah.
yourself, it's going to be cheaper, but like the deals are worse, and it's going to be hours and hours and hours of your time every day, which you don't have because you have a family and a job. So, can you just talk a little bit about, and then we can wrap this up here. I appreciate your time.
Sure.
Pay-per-click marketing. I mean, have you looked into or any other agencies, or have any other agencies tried to kind of poach you as our client, or what are your thoughts on just? I'm sure you've seen other at least marketing ads and stuff like that. Investors, the shiny object syndrome is everywhere. We try our best to fight against it.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've been with us for 5 years, so can you just talk a little bit about us maybe versus other agencies you've seen, or how people can go about making the decision? People aren't just going to like hire us because I said so, obviously, and this is a case study which we're trying to promote our business, but
Right.
like
Right.
honest feedback for how people can really decide on who to work with.
Sure. So just to touch on, you'd mentioned something. PPC is so much easier for me because we also have a direct mail side of our business, and there's all sorts of stats out there about how much follow up is required in direct mail versus PPC. A couple things. One, PPC leads are contacting me. Direct mail, I'm searching for the seller. I'm sending out thousands of mailers just to hope that a couple people call back. And then you get the tire kickers, you get the screw you people, leave me alone, stop harassing me. So you don't deal with all that with PPC because they're actively searching for me, and there's a lot less follow up. They're looking to sell now or in the near future versus like I've had postcard deals where literally 3 to 4 years later, where I was just touching them every few months before we finally actually got to a deal. So that's another huge appeal for me with the PPC campaign is it's like you said, it's a lot less time intensive for me. Um, so just wanted to mention that. But in terms of you guys and the shiny object syndrome, and I mentioned earlier, like I'm a very thorough, like slow moving person. I heard of you through a local RIA meetup, Del Rio here in Delaware. I'm not sure if you had moved out of the area yet. I think you did. I think you were in
Yeah, I
California at
did
the time.
definitely. Yep.
Okay. Um, but yeah, so I had started, getting serious about my business. I had started mailing, and I was like, it's 2019. Like everything's online. I don't have an online presence. Um, and I had seen, that you were running the agency. You weren't like this massive conglomerate, where I like people calling me. I didn't want to talk to five different people. I just wanted one or two guys, which is what you guys offered. Um, it was very sort of like my business. It was very personable. I'm always talking um, to you or uh,
Tyler.
gosh,
Yeah.
like
Right. Yeah.
yeah. Um, but yeah, it's always the same couple guys, um, and I don't know. It's always worked for me. Like I said, you guys were instrumental in setting up the website, guiding me, in terms of getting reviews, how to frame the reviews. You helped me, like with this company that takes your Google reviews and automatically uploads it to your website on a banner. Um, and that's all happened over the course of time. But so for me, it like the PPC campaign and my online presence were kind of two in one when I worked with you guys or working with you guys. You've always been upfront and honest, in terms of what your fees are, what the campaign looks like. I check in with the team periodically about, um, you know, tweaks to the campaign if I want to add to the budget or take away from the budget. So for me, you've always been super easy to work with. Um, there's a layer of trust there that I don't think I would get at a larger company. So if I'm being totally transparent, I haven't really looked outside of you guys too often. There's stuff that pops up here and there, and I'll take a look at it. But um, I'm kind of like, if it's not broke, don't fix it kind of guy.
Yeah.
And like I said, for me, I'm not trying to develop that $5 million a year business. And so what we're doing is working. I'm happy with it. I haven't had any need to look elsewhere.
Awesome. Awesome. Were there any fears, hesitations you had about? I know this is a while ago now, but did you have any fears or hesitations about starting pay per click? And if so, looking back, what is reality versus what your expectations were or fears were?
Yeah, I mean, I think the same, I guess, fears or hesitancies in just starting the business in general. Like, is this going to work? Am I going to lose a ton of money? Am I going to make any money working with these guys? Sorry, it's my school bell. I don't know if you can hear it. But yeah, that, and then just like, how do I grow this online presence? Like, I'm a pretty private, reserved person in general. So like the thought, like when I did those first couple, uh, like phone testimonials with sellers, it's way out of my comfort zone. Um, so like that stuff, yeah, I guess you can call it a fear, but just I'd say it was more uncomfortable. Um, but I mean, I saw the results and I guess the fruits of my labor fairly quickly. Because even like when people call from direct mail postcards they receive, they'll do a quick Google search of me, and the website will pop up, and then they'll see the testimonials. So if all I was doing was direct mail, um, I might not get a few of those deals because of the PPC campaign. So my PPC campaign and the work that I've done with you guys to develop the website has helped the other side of my business with the direct mail marketing, which was kind of my goal from the beginning in developing that online presence. Um, so yeah, I don't mind being uncomfortable. I don't like it. But that, I guess, was the biggest fear moving forward with this was, the money spent and being uncomfortable putting my presence out there.
Yeah, completely understandable. And I'm glad you mentioned the importance of the website. I mean, that's overlooked a lot. And I think branding and website, we put a lot more effort into that than most people do.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So I think like kind of wrapping it up here, next steps for you. I mean, we didn't cover this at all, but like your market, in Pennsylvania, it's not a huge market, right? Like, what do you think? It's a Delaware County, 500,000 people, maybe more than that, like kind of the area we've been targeting for the last 5
Yeah,
years.
I don't know. I can do a search
Quick.
real quick. Yeah, it's five. Google says 585,000.
I know my markets.
Pretty
There we go.
pretty
So,
spot on.
like, if Sean could spend $10,000 a month in his current market, he probably would because the returns are good. Like, he can handle.
Mm,
Like, again, we're not getting a crazy amount of leads in.
right.
The issue is just the market size, right?
Yeah.
So, like, the next step is expanding, and now we're testing to do it, expanding into other markets. That's how Sean, is going to grow the business that way. We kind of like maxed out what we're doing in his local market. We even kind of, because Sean mentioned, oh, we've been playing around with different budgets. Yes, to figure out what the max could be, because we've tried spending more than $4,000 a month,
Yep.
and you get diminishing returns. So then we dial it
Yep.
back and we say, okay, let's just try to optimize around this scale. We can try to maybe testing new keywords and different things like that. But for the most part, adding in new locations or other marketing channels is the way
Yeah.
Sean's gonna grow there. So
Yep.
I think your situation's very similar to a lot of others. And do you have any final thoughts of the campaign, the questions I didn't ask you, or just things you want to mention before we end the call here?
No, I mean, like I said, I've always enjoyed working with you guys. I know there was a period of time where with the COVID and stuff and things got weird. We weren't sure what direction we were going to go, but I'm glad I stuck with it. It's been a consistent, reliable source of revenue for us. Like I said, we can count on what we're going to spend. We can count on the deals that are going to come in for it. And generally that wholesale number we can count on. If we flip them ourselves, then that's just bonus, icing on the
Yeah.
cake. But yeah, the return has been consistent. And I've mentioned it before. You guys are super easy to work with. You're responsive. You're reliable. Anytime I get like a fresh testimonial video, I send it in to the team, and it's usually uploaded within 24 hours, 48 hours max. So, yeah, I'm super happy with the services you guys provide.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Appreciate it, man. And like
Yeah,
a lot of companies don't put 5-year testimonials out because they don't have customers who've been around 5 years. But we
yeah.
literally design things for long-term success. So pumped that you're still with us, and let's do another one, year 10, man. Year 10. We'll
Okay.
see how you are. We'll up until you retire, and we'll get some of your students in here. No,
All right.
but we'll keep it going, man. I
For sure.
appreciate you and wishing you all the best for you and your family, man.
Cool. Well, yeah. Thanks, Tim. I appreciate you guys as well.
Thanks, Sean. Take care, man. Bye.
All right. See ya.